It sits at the end of a forgotten street, Hemlock Lane. The house has seen better days. Now, it's a boarding house. The paint peels, revealing the dark wood beneath. Windows stare out, reflecting the gray sky. It looms, guarding untold stories. At the end of the upstairs hallway, there's a locked door. It stands defiant, a stubborn guardian of what? Every instinct screams at you to run, but every path is blocked except one. That locked door, the one everyone warned you about. Would you open a door if it meant life or death, even if what lay beyond was far worse? A choice some were forced to make. The door itself is unremarkable, yet utterly captivating in its mystery. Fashioned from heavy dark oak, its surface is scarred with the passage of time. There's no visible keyhole on this side, just a tarnished brass knob, cold to the touch, unyielding. Sometimes tenants swear they can hear a faint click from behind it, something waiting. Some say it leads to a forgotten part of the house, walled off decades ago after some unspeakable event. They know, or sense, it's something more sinister. This isn't just a piece of wood and metal barring a passageway, a convergence of all the unspoken anxieties that saturate Hemlock House, as if it chooses when or if it will ever open. What if that door is your only hope? It's a potential gateway. But to where? Salvation, or something infinitely more terrifying? They say Hemlock House wasn't born bad, it was made that way. Built in the late 1800s for Silas Blackwood, a man known for his ambition. Whispers followed its construction, accidents, workers walking off, muttering about a chill. Blackwood didn't enjoy his mansion for long. Some say he lost his fortune, others whisper of tragedy. The house soon found itself changing hands, each owner staying a shorter time than the last. The opulence began to fade, replaced by a slow decay. By the early 20th century, it became a boarding house. The walls now absorbed the quiet despairs of countless strangers. And with this new chapter, the strange occurrences seemed to find fertile ground. The foundation of fear was in the collective memory, one unsettling night at a time. The early days of the boarding house were a tapestry of fleeting faces, sailors, salesmen, and women escaping difficult pasts. Few stayed long, eager to put Hemlock House behind them, but they took stories with them, stories of uneasy nights and whispers from the walls. There was Mrs. Gable, who heard footsteps in the attic, and Mr. Abernathy, a clockmaker, whose clocks began to behave erratically. The house seemed to collect these anxieties, feeding off them. The house was becoming saturated with echoes of unseen lives. The stage was being set for a more terrifying legend. It's hard to pinpoint when the door became the focal point of Hemlock House's dread. Older tenants would talk about a time when it was just another door. But then, something changed. The door at the end of the upstairs hall, always locked, no key ever found. What remained was the unyielding oak, its presence growing heavier with each passing year. Then came the sounds, a scratching, like fingernails on wood, heard only in the dead of night. Then, muffled cries. This was no ordinary locked room. The door became a symbol of all the house's secrets, all its unspoken horrors. It was a legend, waiting for its next victim. The rumors among the tenants became a kind of chilling chorus, a litany of warnings and hushed anxieties. Newcomers were quickly indoctrinated into the lore of the locked door. Don't listen too closely if you hear noises from that end of the hall, they'd be advised. And never, ever, try the handle. It was an unwritten rule, a survival tactic in a house that felt, honestly, increasingly predatory. The sounds, once sporadic, became more frequent, more distinct. Not just scratching now, but sometimes a soft, mournful humming, or a single heavy thud, as if something substantial had been dropped or had fallen on the other side. There were stories, too, of those who didn't heed the warnings. Young Arthur, a student who fancied himself a paranormal investigator, arrived with an air of bravado. He was determined to uncover the mystery of the locked room. He spent hours near it, listening, sometimes even talking to it. His neighbors reported hearing him jiggle the doorknob late at night. Then one morning Arthur was gone. His room, neatly made, his belongings still there, he'd simply vanished. The landlord shrugged, saying he probably just skipped out on rent. but the other tenants exchanged knowing, fearful glances. Arthur wasn't the first. Over the years, several tenants had disappeared from Hemlock House. Not always from rooms closest to the locked door, but, the association was always made. The police would come, ask their questions, find no signs of foul play and leave, files eventually growing cold. The house kept its secrets well. These disappearances added another layer to the dread. It wasn't just about strange sounds or an eerie feeling anymore. It was about tangible loss, about people ceasing to exist within these walls. The locked door seemed to loom larger, its silence more menacing after each unexplained departure. And so life in Hemlock House continued under this oppressive shadow. Tenants learned to live with the constant, low-level hum of fear. They developed routines, superstitions. Some would cross themselves when passing the dreaded end of the hallway. Others would hurry by, eyes averted. The door remained locked. The sounds continued. The disappearances, though infrequent, served as stark reminders. The house was watching, and the door, it was waiting. Waiting for what, or for whom? That was the question that haunted their restless nights, a question no one dared to answer aloud. The storm arrived. It clawed at Hemlock House like a hungry beast. Rain lashed against the grimy windows. It was a night for secrets to crawl from the shadows. Inside, the tenants huddled in their rooms. Eliza, a newer tenant, occupied a small room on the second floor. Tonight, the storm amplified her anxieties. She tried to read, but the words blurred, her mind replaying the hushed warnings about the house. A floorboard snapped upstairs. Eliza pulled her thin blanket tighter, her heart beginning a frantic rhythm against her ribs. But a deeper instinct, cold and sharp, told her otherwise. This wasn't just any storm. It felt malevolent. The house was awake, and it felt like it was watching her. Waiting. The sounds grew bolder, more insistent. No longer could Eliza dismiss them as the storm's fury or the house's age. A distinct scratching came from her own locked door, not the frantic scrabbling of an animal. This was deliberate, methodical, like long fingernails drawing lines in the wood. Her breath hitched. She froze, her book falling unheeded to the floor. The scratching stopped. Then, a whisper, so faint it was almost lost in the wind's howl. Her name, Eliza. It seemed to slither through the keyhole, a cold tendril of sound. She pressed herself against the far wall, eyes wide, fixed on the door. Who could be out there? No other tenant would dare. Not on a night like this. Not with that sound. The scratching resumed, more urgent now, followed by a soft, wet chuckle that seemed to emanate from the very wood of the door. It wasn't human, it couldn't be. Panic, raw and visceral, began to flood her senses. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't her imagination. This was real. The unseen threat from the stories, it was here. And it knew her name. It was outside her room. A heavy thud vibrated through the floor as if something large and heavy had been dropped just outside her room. Then another, closer. The dragging sound she'd heard earlier returned, louder now, accompanied by a faint, sickly sweet odor that seeped under her door. An odor of decay and something else. Something indescribably foul. Eliza clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle a scream. She had to get out. Not just out of the room, but out of the house. But how? The hallway outside her door was now a place of unimaginable terror. Her mind raced. The main stairs, too exposed, the back stairs, narrow, dark, and rarely used. What if it was waiting there too? The whispers continued, a sibilant chorus now, seeming to come from all around her as if the walls themselves had found a voice. They promised things, terrible things. They coaxed, they threatened. Eliza knew with chilling certainty that staying in this room was not an option. The flimsy lock on her door felt like paper against the encroaching dread. The unseen pursuit had begun, and she was its quarry. With a surge of adrenaline born of pure terror, Eliza flung open her door. Just a crack at first, peeking out. The hallway was dark, save for the erratic flashes of lightning that momentarily illuminated its oppressive length. Empty, or so it seemed. The dragging sound had stopped. The whispers had receded for now. Taking a shallow, shaky breath, she slipped out, her bare feet silent on the worn wooden floorboards. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but where? The main staircase seemed miles away, an impossible gauntlet. The air in the corridor was thick, colder than in her room. She crept along the wall, her senses stretched taut. Each shadow seemed to congeal into a menacing shape. Each flicker of lightning revealed new horrors, real or imagined. The old portraits on the wall, their eyes seemed to follow her. The silence was almost worse than the sounds. It was a predatory silence waiting to be broken. She could feel it. The presence, it was still there, watching her, toying with her. She reached the junction. To the left, the main stairs, her original desperate hope. To the right, the other end of the hall, the end with the door. A sudden, deafening crash from behind her. She whirled around. A vase, one that had sat on a small hall table for years, lay shattered on the floor. No one had been near it. The lightning flashed again, and for a split second she thought she saw it, a deeper shadow detaching itself from the wall near her room. Tall, formless, moving with an unnatural fluidity. It wasn't a person, it was something else, something that defied explanation. The chase was on. No more stealth, no more hoping to go unnoticed. It knew she was out. She ran. Not towards the main stairs. In her panic, she turned the wrong way. Or perhaps some desperate, unacknowledged part of her knew the main stairs were too far, too open. She fled down the corridor, away from her room, away from the immediate manifested horror. Her breath came in ragged gasps. The floorboards groaned under her frantic flight. The storm outside raged in sympathy with her terror. Behind her she could hear it, the dragging sound, faster now, closer, and the whispers, no longer soft but hungry, excited. She was running deeper into the house's embrace, deeper into the fear. She reached the end of the hallway, a dead end, except for it, the door, the one they all whispered about, the unyielding oak. It loomed before her, dark and implacable even in the frantic strobing light of the storm. There was nowhere else to go. Behind her, the sounds of pursuit grew louder, more terrifying. The dragging, scraping noise echoed in the narrow space. The whispers swirled around her, mocking, promising. She could feel the cold breath of whatever chased her, even though she couldn't see it clearly. It was gaining, fast, trapped, utterly and completely trapped. Her hand, trembling uncontrollably, reached for the tarnished brass doorknob. It was ice cold, colder than the rest of the house, colder than the grave. She remembered the warnings. Never try the handle, it doesn't like to be disturbed, but what choice did she have? The alternative was the formless horror rapidly approaching, its presence a suffocating weight. Other tenants, perhaps awakened by the commotion of the storm and Eliza's flight, might have heard. A muffled shout, a door creaking open elsewhere, then quickly slamming shut. No one dared to intervene. They knew the house, they knew the sounds. Tears streamed down Eliza's face, mingling with the sweat of her terror. She rattled the knob, locked. Of course it was locked, it was always locked. She pushed against the heavy wood with her shoulder. It didn't budge, not an inch. Despair threatened to consume her. This was it. This was how it ended. Cornered in a haunted house by an unspeakable thing, before a door that offered no escape. The whispers were almost on top of her now, curling around her ears, filled with a triumphant malice. She could smell that foul, sweet odor again, stronger than ever. Then something happened, a faint click, from within the door, so soft she almost missed it amidst her own panicked sobs and the storm's roar. She rattled the knob again, a last hopeless effort, and it turned, slowly, grudgingly, with a groan of ancient reluctant mechanisms. The door, the infamous locked door of Hemlock House, the door that had resisted all attempts for generations, was opening. For her, in her most desperate hour. A wave of disbelief so potent it momentarily eclipsed her fear, washed over her. Hope? Or just another trick of this cursed place? The heavy oak door creaked inward, revealing a pitch-black room. The dragging sound was inches behind her. Eliza stumbled across the threshold, into the impenetrable blackness. The door began to swing shut behind her. She heard it slam. Then, silence. The relief was fleeting, replaced by dread. The darkness was absolute. She was no longer chased, she was caught. Mr. Henderson heard the door slam, and then a single, piercing scream. Mrs. Periwinkle saw a flicker of green light from under the door, just after it closed. The door, when the authorities arrived, was locked. Eliza was gone. The room was found empty, except for a fresh scratch mark on the inside of the door. It had offered something else entirely. The flashing blue lights cut through the dissipating storm. They painted grotesque, dancing shadows on the rain-slicked facade of Hemlock House. 2 police cruisers, then a detective's unmarked sedan arrived, summoned by a frantic call. The officers felt a change in the air as they stepped onto Hemlock Lane. The house loomed, a dark silhouette against the bruised pre-dawn sky, its windows like hollow eye sockets. Inside, a tangible dread hung heavy. The remaining tenants huddled in the dim parlor, their faces pale. Detective Miller listened to their accounts. A young woman, Eliza, had vanished into a room that was always locked. They ascended the creaking staircase, towards the door. It stood there, just as the legends described. He jiggled it, locked, solid, utterly unmoving. Detective Miller looked at the infamous door again. The house felt like an active participant. This investigation, he sensed, would be unlike any other. The first order of business was the door. If Eliza was in there, they had to get to her. Detective Miller asked the landlord, Mr. Croft, about a key. Croft shook his head. There never was one. Officer Peterson tried every master key, then his shoulder. The door didn't budge. It was as if the door was fused to the house, immovable. A locksmith arrived but found no keyhole, no latch, nothing to work with. "It's not meant to be opened from this side," he muttered, defeated. They tried a battering ram. The door shuddered but held, resisting every blow. Chips of wood flew but the core remained intact, as if the door itself refused to yield. The tenants downstairs flinched at every strike, sensing the house's displeasure. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was no ordinary door. The enigma deepened. The house was guarding something, and it wasn't ready to let go. The door would not yield its secrets. News of Eliza's disappearance spread quickly, infecting the neighborhood with fear. Hemlock House, once a local legend, became a site of real horror. Most tenants fled within days, leaving behind empty rooms and a suffocating dread. The few who stayed spoke in whispers, their fear almost tangible. Detective Miller interviewed witnesses, but their terror made their stories unreliable. The police, unprepared for such a case, struggled to maintain control. The press swarmed, rumors of the supernatural grew, and the house's reputation darkened. Miller tried to stay rational, but the unease was contagious. Hemlock House was no longer just a building, it was a story, and fear was its main character. The fear was no longer contained within its walls. The door finally gave way, revealing only dust and a single scratch mark inside. No sign of Eliza, no struggle, no secret exits, just impossibility. Miller's team dug into the house's history, old disappearances, cold cases, all eerily similar. The house seemed to swallow people whole, leaving no trace. Miller researched locked room mysteries, desperate for answers. The parallels were chilling. The case stalled, logic failed, no leads, no suspects. How do you interrogate a house? The official investigation hit a wall. The house held its secrets tight. Miller's certainty crumbled. The puzzle had no pieces. The house was a predator, and logic was powerless. The case became a source of frustration and dread. The house defied explanation. Official theories felt hollow. None explained the impossible facts. Unofficial whispers grew. Some said the house was a gateway, the door a sentient entity. Fear bred stories of ancient hunger and supernatural selection. Even Miller felt reality fraying. The evidence pointed to the irrational. He searched for overlooked details, but the house's menace only grew. The investigation shifted from finding Eliza to understanding the unexplainable. Pressure mounted to close the case, but Miller refused to invent a simple answer. The house, the door, the disappearance, none fit any known narrative. Reality itself seemed to fracture in Hemlock House. Some mysteries refused to be solved. Was this a perfect crime or something beyond crime itself? No evidence, no suspects, just a vanished woman and a door that defied reason. The house felt like the perpetrator, the door its weapon. The case files grew, but answers never came. Hemlock House became a monument to the unexplained, a warning to all. The police moved on. Eliza became another cold case. The enigma of the locked door remained, unsolvable. The horror was not just in the loss, but in the not knowing. Some truths are too disturbing to comprehend. After the police left, silence claimed Hemlock House. The landlord vanished, the last tenants fled, and the house stood abandoned. Nature began reclaiming the building, but its aura of dread remained. Even vandals and thrill-seekers kept their distance. The boarded-up door became the house's sealed heart, its secrets untouched. The house was condemned by fear, not law. No one dared return. The silence was predatory, watchful. Hemlock House became a monument to terror, its power undiminished. The story of Eliza and the door lingered, a warning unheeded. The house waited, its secrets undisturbed. The story of Eliza Bloom quickly transcended local gossip, becoming a dark folktale whispered around campfires. With each retelling, the narrative became embellished. The house transformed into a malevolent being. The truth was amplified into myth, ensuring Hemlock House's infamy. Paranormal enthusiasts were drawn to the tale, armed with EMF meters and audio recorders. A few tried to gain entry, but rarely stayed long. Hemlock House did not suffer trespassers gladly. Websites featured articles about the Hemlock horror. The core of the legend always returned to the door, a symbol of the unknown. The story of Eliza served as a potent warning, especially when it leads you to the doorstep of a place like Hemlock House. The locked door and Eliza's tragedy cast a long shadow over the community. Hemlock House became a psychological scar. Property values plummeted. Few wished to live nearby. The town tried to forget, but Hemlock House loomed. Demolish it? A tourist attraction? Better to leave it alone. Paranormal societies made pilgrimages. Whispers, cold spots, unseen eyes. The boarded-up door fascinated. EVPs. Locked. Help me. Unanswered questions. Gnawing fear. Not all horrors can be rationalized away. The house decayed, its legend vibrant. The door remained a symbol of desperate choice. Its shadow lingered. The tale of Hemlock House lingers, echoing in the quiet moments. Eliza Bloom's desperate flight remains etched into the very fabric of that place. What truly happened behind that unyielding oak door? The answers are locked away, buried under layers of time and fear. These are the stories that defy our need for rational explanations. They whisper of a world where the familiar can become monstrous. The terror of Hemlock House resides in the chilling possibility that such places are real. The unknown is a vast dark ocean, and stories like these are the unsettling ripples that reach our shores. What happens when the danger is already inside the home? Hemlock House subverted this fundamental expectation. Its most notorious door became a portal to an unknowable fate. It's a chilling inversion of everything we believe a home should be. It reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying things are not the phantoms we imagine. A door, meant for passage, transformed into a final, unyielding trap. The legacy of Hemlock House and of that particular door is one of enduring, unsettling silence. The official inquiries have long since closed, their files gathering dust, yet the story lives on, passed down in hushed tones, a local legend that refuses to fade. It serves as a stark, chilling reminder that some mysteries are never solved. The fear it instilled has a persistence that outlasts brick and mortar. They become part of the landscape of our nightmares. The door becomes a symbol for all the hidden, terrifying possibilities that might lurk just beyond our perception. The terror isn't just what happened there, but the chilling implication that the veil could be thin anywhere, at any time. But the door at Hemlock House twisted that purpose into something malevolent. What choice would you make? Would you open the door?